Hello, welcome in. Nice big 49ers update this morning. NFL update as well. Christian McCaffrey, star running back, do everything kind of player, right? He plays receiver too for San Francisco. He's all over the field. Maybe we'll even see him on some special teams this year. He's going to be on the cover of Madden, just officially announced a few minutes ago. So hopefully you heard it here first. There it is, Christian McCaffrey on the cover of Madden wearing his 49ers jersey, number 23. He becomes the first 49er to be on the USA cover of the Madden video game. We've seen Garrison Hurst on the cover of Madden before. This was back in 1999, but this was the international version of Madden. McCaffrey becomes the first running back in over 10 years to be on the cover, which might mean a step in the right direction for the running back position. Christian McCaffrey's contract last week, a new extension with the 49ers, certainly a step in the right direction for the running back position. He's been the highest paid running back for several years now, but he increased his lead with the new contract signed with San Francisco last week. Everybody's going to be talking about the Madden curse, and I've got to say, what Madden curse? Because you had Lamar Jackson on there in 2021. You had Patrick Mahomes on there in 2020. He's obviously since won a Super Bowl, but Jackson has since won an MVP, even though you can argue in the case of Jackson that Christian McCaffrey was much more deserving of the MVP, and McCaffrey hadn't yet been a Madden cover athlete. You had both Mahomes and Tom Brady on there in 2022. And you had Josh Allen on there in 2024, who came back and played some good football last season as well. So, yes, the Madden curse was something that people talked a lot about in the years between, I would say, 2000 and 2020. But ever since Patrick Mahomes got on the cover of Madden and has since won 2 Super Bowls, and he's been on the cover twice, I'm not really sure that I subscribe to the theory of the Madden curse. And now Christian McCaffrey is going to be on there. He's going to be the first cover athlete on the USA version of Madden for the San Francisco 49ers, representing SF. So there he is. That's what it's going to look like. They're also coming out with an NCAA football game today. Christian McCaffrey is the best college football player I have ever seen or covered. A lot of people will tell you Reggie Bush. A lot of other people will tell you Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey idolized Reggie Bush growing up, had a Reggie Bush jersey up in his room. It was something else, though, to watch McCaffrey at Stanford. It's too bad they didn't have the video game NCAA football around while McCaffrey was at Stanford, because it'd be a lot of fun to have him in that football game play as number 5. That's why he wore the number 5, by the way, in honor of Reggie Bush at Stanford. Now he wears the 23. He was 22 in Carolina. You couldn't go 22 with the 49ers because it was an in-season trade and Jeff Wilson Jr. was still on the roster, and you can't change numbers in the middle of the season. So naturally, 23 was open. It's McCaffrey's Jordan era. He's now wearing it. He stuck with the 23 even after Jeff Wilson Jr. left. That was via trade during that 2022 season. The number was technically open for Christian entering 2023, but he wore 23 entering 2023. Now he enters 2024 as a key cog of this 49ers team. They call him their offensive MVP. That's what Chris Furster said yesterday. He is as impactful of a non-quarterback as there can be in the National Football League. And I think, when we talk about the running back position advancing, I wonder when the day is going to come, and I think it needs to come, where the franchise tag delineation between different offensive positions outside of that quarterback spot is dissolved. I get it. Quarterback should be on a different level than other positions just in terms of importance. But when Christian McCaffrey has as big of an impact in the pass game as a lot of the top paid receivers, which is true, then he shouldn't be making half the amount of the top wide receiver. George Kittle has just as big of an impact in the pass game as a lot of top receivers. He also has a massive impact in the run game, bigger than every single receiver with the way he blocks, he shouldn't be making half the amount of the top receiver. And the reason that these guys are making that little compared to the top receivers in the game is because the franchise tags for each position constrain their salaries. It's the average of the top 5 contracts at each position. It's artificially set lower. And when an outlier player like George Kittle comes around, when an outlier player like Christian McCaffrey comes around, they struggle to negotiate a contract that reflects their actual worth on the field because the threat of the franchise tag that teams hold keeps that contract value depressed. I think that as time goes along, players like Kittle and McCaffrey become less outliers, not because they aren't the best that's done it at their position, but because other players start to emulate them. Other running backs say, hey, I have to learn my receiving skills too. Other tight ends say, I have to be a really good receiver lined up out wide or in the slot on top of being a really good blocker. More players become more versatile following the lead of guys like the one on your screen. And then it becomes an entire market's problem. It's not just Christian McCaffrey's problem that running backs aren't paid the same as receivers. That they're, well, I would say, let's put it this way, that running backs are paid on a different scale than receivers. And then because of that, the running backs that are particularly impactful do not have the same weight when it comes to contract negotiations. So maybe ultimately we'll see those franchise tag delineations erased, and that will help level the playing field. I would say one franchise tag for offensive skill position weapons, period. Quarterbacks, linemen, offensive skill position weapons. Because let's be honest, the way that these guys are being used now, the way that the 49ers are using Christian McCaffrey, the way they're using Kittle, the way they're using Deebo Samuel, he's playing running back and he's playing receiver. This is largely interchangeable stuff. We are moving closer and closer to the positionless skill position dream of Kyle Shanahan. And at that point, I don't think it's ever going to, by the way, I don't think it's ever going to be realized to a point where everybody has got the same exact body type at the skill positions and can do everything. You still want to have somebody that's a little bit more blocking forward, so they have a little bit more muscle, a little bit more size. They can handle some of the defensive ends in the run game, maybe even in the pass game. George Kittle blocks. You're going to want a shiftier body type at the running back position to take the handoffs, maybe a taller body type at the receiver position. It's never going to be the same across all the positions, but the skill sets are expanding to include the duties of the other positions already. And I think that's only going to become more and more of the case as offenses evolve. It's just too constraining to an offense to have a player out there who only has one skill. He can be too easily guarded. And in response, defenses have gotten more flexible too. The 49ers have a safety this year, rookie out of Wake Forest, Malik Mustafa, who played a little bit of outside linebacker, who obviously played safety for Wake Forest, who played a little bit of inside linebacker, nickel back. Hell, he even lined up on the defensive line on some snaps. It was called the Panther position at Wake Forest. He was all over the field. True versatility, true adaptability. So to combat what guys like Christian McCaffrey are doing in the NFL now with their adaptability, how offenses are using them, defenses are having to get the same kind of pieces in response. Anyway, those of you just joining, Christian McCaffrey will be on the cover of Madden 2025. He will be the first 49er on the U.S. edition of the Madden video game. I have to ask, what Madden curse when I see Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes again, along with Tom Brady, and Josh Allen on the recent covers of Madden? The curse might have been a thing in the past, but I don't think it's a thing anymore now in the present with some of the guys who've been on it recently. This is how it's going to look with Christian McCaffrey on the cover. Looks like they have two versions of it. In one of them, have they even played? Is that the Raiders that they're playing on the right? Have they even played the Raiders since Christian McCaffrey came over? I don't think they have. So I think that picture on the right's got to be some kind of Photoshop. because I do think that's the Raiders in the background. And I don't remember the 49ers playing the Raiders in 2022 or 2023. Now, they played them in the preseason, but Christian McCaffrey obviously wasn't playing that game. So that picture on the right, that I think that's a Photoshop made by EA Sports. By the way, EA Sports based in Redwood Shores, right off 101 in the Bay Area. So the 49ers are very close to the headquarters of the company producing this game. Well, that's it. That's your 49ers update. I don't think that there are too many questions that are all that insightful about this. People can argue about the Madden curse all they want, but the truth is that Mahomes probably broke it in 2020. The 49ers have had a player on the cover in the past. It was Garrison Hurst in 1999 for Madden 99. There he is. And that could have been an injury curse one back for Garrison Hurst. As you can see, he broke his leg that season. But that was before Patrick Mahomes over here broke the curse. Garrison Hurst, and that was also the international version for Garrison Hurst. It wasn't the USA version of Madden. So in the case of Garrison Hurst in 1999, that was actually, that's some real 49ers history for you. In 1999, that was tough for San Francisco. Garrison Hurst, obviously a really, really good player. And they truly believe, that team truly believes that it would have won the Super Bowl after it beat Green Bay in the wild card round. That was the Terrell Owens catch from Steve Young. The 49ers truly believe they would have beaten the Atlanta Falcons had Garrison Hurst not broken his leg on something like the first or the second play of the game at the old Georgia Dome in Atlanta. But Hurst had a fantastic season before that. He was even playing a little bit hurt, I think, against Green Bay, or exhausted against Green Bay when they beat them. They lost to Atlanta 19-17. 2-point loss. So if Garrison Hurst, who was so important to that football team, stays reasonably healthy for that game, doesn't break his leg, yeah, you would think that maybe the 49ers can make up those 2 points and beat the Falcons. The 49ers had Ricky Waters in the early 90s when Mike Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. They had Ricky Waters when they last won a Super Bowl in 1990, the 94 season in 1995. Ricky Waters was a lot like, this really ties together. Ricky Waters was a lot like Christian McCaffrey in that he was a threat coming out of the backfield. He was a threat, obviously, running the ball. He was able to make the offense extremely adaptable. Ricky Waters left in free agency after the 49ers won that Super Bowl to close the 1994 season. They didn't really find a replacement immediately. 1995 was a huge problem for the 49ers at the running back position. That's probably the reason why they lost to the Packers that year. They didn't have the running threat anymore. They didn't have the threat coming out of the backfield that they had anymore. They went through several running backs, and the 1995 season saw the 49ers lose to Green Bay 27-17 at Candlestick in the divisional playoffs. Steve Young dropped back to pass 65 times in that game. 65 pass attempts. He dropped back more times because he got sacked in that game. 65 pass attempts for the 49ers against the Packers because the running game was so anemic in 95 and they lost. So they needed, the 49ers did, the 49ers needed a running back who could deliver out of the backfield again. And later in the 1990s, they were able to grab Garrison Hurst, who found himself on the cover of Madden in 1999. So that was the 98 season where Hurst helped them finally beat the Packers. But of course, he got hurt in that game against the Falcons. But anyway, the moral of the story, the larger picture here is that even if you think that was a curse, I would say that Mahomes broke it. But in the larger picture, we can learn a little bit about 49ers football history when we talk about Christian McCaffrey being that dual threat running back. Well, Garrison Hurst was a dual threat running back that the 49ers were able to acquire to fill the gap that had existed after Ricky Waters left. And perhaps it will be Christian McCaffrey who plays that Ricky Waters role in returning the 49ers to the perch of Super Bowl champions. All right. McCaffrey is the cover athlete on Madden. First 49er to ever be the cover athlete on the USA version of Madden. Congratulations to him. Also in a season that he picked up a new contract. I've got one more thing for you here. If you want some reading right now, we're going to talk about this a little bit later this afternoon. But for now, I could just share it with you very quickly. A conversation with Chris Kasarik on the 49ers defensive line overhaul. This is D-line coach Chris Kasarik. Have him up on the screen there for you. This was a good conversation. They overhauled their defensive line in a major, major way. And Kasarik is, I think, a really, really good person to talk to regarding all of the new faces, 6 or 7 new faces up front. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this link into the description. If you can go check that out, you can subscribe to The Athletic. You can see that. You can also look at the article about the Christian McCaffrey situation. Mike points out to me that the 49ers almost lost to the Raiders in 2022, but okay, this is still photoshopped. I'm still half right because San Francisco did not wear its red jerseys when playing the Raiders on New Year's Eve. So I do remember that game. McCaffrey played in it, but even though the Raiders are chasing him, the 49ers wore their white jerseys on the road for that game. I remember that really well. I'm going to go back and make sure, but I still remember Brock Purdy throwing the touchdown. 49ers, Raiders, 2022. Yep, the 49ers wore their white jerseys in that game. They won 37-34. As proof, I wish I could find a McCaffrey picture from that game. Oh, here's a good one. This came from that game. Take a look at this. This is from 49ers Raiders. And as you can see, the 49ers are wearing their white jerseys. And as you can see, the picture on the right, Christian McCaffrey is wearing his red jersey and the Raiders are wearing their white. So it didn't come from that game. So the Ayuk image from that Raiders game is iconic. But, you know, I was automatically thinking the 49ers didn't host the Raiders. I wasn't thinking about road games. Well, they did play them on the road, but they definitely did not wear their red jerseys. So this on the right has to be photoshopped. This is not. And this is a cooler picture, by the way. Brandon Ayuk. Had a big video on Brandon Ayuk yesterday, by the way. His first public words in quite some time about the contract situation. So make sure you check it out. See, we have a lot of these questions. Is the Madden cover a curse? You tell me. Is it a curse? If it was a curse, I don't think that this would be the case. Patrick Mahomes has won 2 Super Bowls ever since this. So I think the curse has been broken. We have a picture with Christian McCaffrey against the Raiders as well. Why don't I put this up on the screen? And then we could ride off into the sunset. I took Mahomes off. I know you guys don't want to see that for too long. Just have to get McCaffrey up, the one that Mike sent me. McCaffrey against the Raiders, New Year's Eve, 2022. So, again, as you can tell, he's wearing his white jersey and he's wearing his red jersey in this one. This is the only time that we'll dedicate several minutes to the color of jerseys being worn in photos because it actually matters when we're talking about the Madden cover. We're analyzing the Madden cover. Where else do you get this kind of analysis of the Madden cover? We've discovered that this is photoshopped on the right. The one on the left, that looks like one of the banners at Levi Stadium. I think that's the touchdown. The one on the left is the touchdown after the 49ers beat Green Bay in the postseason. I think he did that kind of flex after scoring the go-ahead touchdown. So that probably isn't photoshopped. It might be lightly edited for color purposes or heavily edited for color purposes, just so the aesthetic works well on the cover. The one on the right, they've had to combine images, though. Why are you watching, man? Why are you still here? We're 20 minutes in. If you don't feel that I'm giving you new information, we're 20 minutes in. So in honor of Ray, I think you're going to get more people to subscribe to The Athletic. You guys can all do it at the link that Mike has put into the description. Ray, I think that you have just done the opposite of what you intended to do. A lot of people are about to subscribe because of you. So thank you very much. Everybody, the link is in the description. You guys can all go check it out. We can all thank Ray for his support because a lot of people are going to subscribe now. And we can probably finish this up because I don't think that there's much more to say about the Madden cover. I think that's good. Everybody take care. We will talk to you very soon.